This is about Princess Amarande. Amarande. Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
Didn't I make you laugh? Didn't I make you smile?
Hi friends, it's Rory, and today is part 2 of my 20 books I'm looking forward to in 2020 video, this time the non-LGBTQ plus books. So let's just go ahead and get right on into it. The first book I have up is Jane Anonymous by Laurie Stolares. It is the story of a girl named... it is written in 2 different perspectives, one from before she is kidnapped and one after she escapes her kidnapping. And I'm really interested in seeing the connection between the 2 different points of view, kind of like seeing if I can figure out, it's probably going to end up being a mystery who the kidnapper is, and so kind of like seeing if I can figure out who the kidnapper is based on the information that I have from after she comes out, and I'm looking forward to it. And this book is supposed to come out January. Up next is 3 Things I Know Are True by Betty Cully. This is about a girl named Liv whose older brother Jonah accidentally shoots himself with his best friend Clay's father's gun, and he now needs around the house, like around the clock care, which Liv is the only one who seems to be willing to do. At the same time, Liv's family is now suing Clay's family, and Liv doesn't think this is very fair because Clay is her friend too, and she refuses to accept what her mother is doing. This is going to be a book that I feel is very important. Right now, gun violence is a big thing, but accidentally shooting someone happens way more than you think it will. And so I can't wait to see kind of like what it has to say about that. And that is also being published in January. Up next is Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown, which is like a magical realist autobiography is kind of like what it's being described as, which is interesting. It is about Echo, who is a wizard on the east side where apartments are small and people are genuinely poor, and people suffer from addiction to white rocks. But there is a lot of magic, and new portals begin to open up to allow Echo to transfer to a rich school on the west side. And so it is about her kind of in these 2 worlds, but Echo realizes that no matter which world she's in, there is pain that will follow her, and so she needs to kind of like figure out what to do about that. I really like the way this is being explained, like a magical realistic autobiography seems like really interesting, and that's the main reason why I want to read this one. And this is also coming out in January. Next up is The Hand on the Wall, which is the 3rd Truly Devious book. It continues with the Ellingham Academy mystery, and it continues with Stevie's story at Ellingham Academy, and the last book was really good, and now that we know kind of like who originally did the kidnapping, I'm really interested in seeing who continued with the whole plan, and seeing what Stevie does with the fact that she now knows who did the original kidnapping. This is supposed to come out in January, and I am really excited. Cannot wait for my library to get it so I can read it. Up next is Don't Read the Comics by Eric Smith. It is the story of Diva, who is an online video game streamer, and she is receiving some hate that's stereotypical of a female streamer. But she is using the money that she earns in her streaming to help with her single mother. At the same time, there is a boy named Aaron who does not want to become a doctor like his mother wants him to, and he becomes friends with Diva, and then Diva is doxxed, and people start to come after her. So she decides that she is going to go and confront them at basically what amounts to Comic-Con, and Aaron decides he is going to go and save her. I'm interested in seeing what they have to say on doxing in this book specifically. Along with that, I hope that Diva is willing to like go in and be like, dude, I don't need saving when it comes to Aaron. So yeah, and this book also comes out in January. The next book is What Kind of Girl by Alyssa Schimmel. It's the story of a group of girls at a North Bay Academy, where one day one of the popular boys, Mike's girlfriend, goes to the principal's office with a bruise on her face and says that he hit her. It then tears the school apart into people who are on her side and people who are on Mike's side. And they start questioning things like, why did she go to the principal and not the police? If it was true, how come it took her so long? Things like that. They know that one of them is lying and one is not. So I'm excited about this because kind of for the same reason why I was excited for Girl Made of Stars is that it's clearly in this situation someone is lying, and it's about figuring out who it is at the same time that there is a very important story being told about abusive relationships. So I can't wait to read this. Hopefully it doesn't destroy me like Girl Made of Stars did. And this book comes out in February. Then we have Chain of Gold from Cassandra Clare, which is her book in the new Lost Hours trilogy that focuses on the children of the Infernal Devices era characters. If the video where I talk about how much I'm in love with Infernal Devices hasn't come out yet, I'm in love with Infernal Devices. Will Herondale is one of my favorite characters of all time, and Tessa, Will, and Jem are the biggest OT3. They are in love with each other. You cannot tell me any different. But I'm really excited about this because all of the sneak peeks that we've had of like James Herondale and his parabatai, and all of them have looked really, really, really exciting. And I can't wait to see them, but also to see more of my baby Will when he is alive. Anyways, I'm excited, and that comes out in March. Then we have Every Reason We Shouldn't by Sarah Fujimaru. Maru. I think it's Fujimaru. Like I said, I'm not good at names. But this is the story of a 15-year-old girl named Olivia who was a figure skater, but due to injury, she is no longer able to go to the Olympics like she dreamed. So she's bitter, but starting her life as a normal teenager, helping out at her family's struggling ice rink. And she meets Jonah, who starts to train there, and he is a speed skater who is trying to get into the Olympics, and they start to fall in love. I'm in love with everything ice skating. The Winter Olympics are the best Olympics, don't at me. That's the entire reason. This book could have been about anything, but it has to do with ice skating, and so I'm gonna read it. And this is supposed to come out in March too. Roast me all you want, because I am going to mispronounce everything about this. The next book is Bone Creer's Moon by Katherine Party, which, fun fact, her name is spelled the exact same way as my sister's. Very interesting. So this is the story of a society called Bone Creers, who it's their job to ferry spirits of the dead to either heaven or the underworld, but because of this dedication, they are forced to kill their one true love. It follows 3 characters, one whose name is Alessi, who is about to take the rite of passage and kill the boys she's destined to love. One is Bastian, whose father was killed by a bone crier, and he's seeking revenge on them. And who is named Sabine, who does not like the bone crier's work, and her best friend Alessi is taken captive, and she will do whatever it takes to save her. I'm not even gonna lie, the cover is a big part of why I want to read this, but also just like something makes me feel like Alessi and Bastian are gonna fall in love, and it's gonna be an enemies to friends to lovers situation, and I'm just here for it, and I want it real bad. So yeah, and that book comes out in March. The next book on my list is What I Like About You by Marissa Cantor. And this is the story of a girl named Haley who likes her online best friend Nash. He is a graphic novelist who does work for the creator of One True Pastry, which is a YA book blog that pairs cupcakes with covers and reviews. The only thing is that Haley is the creator of that, and Nash doesn't know it. So when Haley is forced to move to her grandfather's town her senior year, she comes face to face with the real life Nash, and she's not sure how she can tell him who she is. It literally explains it as, can you have a love triangle with just two people? This book reminds me so much of like Eliza and Her Monsters, and I'm so here for it. I'm so excited. Cannot wait to read it. Especially just like Haley seems like such a cute character already. Just like One True Pastry. Are you kidding? That's so cute. Oh my gosh. Anyways, this book comes out in April. Up next is Unscripted by Nicole Kronzer. This is the story of a girl named Zelda who has her future planned out. She wants to go to improv camp so she can then work her way up to becoming a comedian who is on Saturday Night Live. She lands a spot on a very exclusive improv group, but because she's the only female on the team, she is humiliated by some of the boys on her team and teased, and unfortunately, her coach is cruel to her when they're at practice, but way too nice to her when they're alone. And so Zelda wants to fight back, but she needs to figure out if fighting back is worth ruining her dream. This seems like it's gonna be a book talking about when like coaches are a bit too friendly and have to do with like sexual abuse in that aspect, and so it seems like it's going to be a very important book, and the fact that it's an improv group makes it seem like, despite the fact that it's going to be a heavy subject, like it's going to be funny. And so yeah, this doesn't have a publication date. On Goodreads it just says 2020. Up next is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is the story of two girls, one named Camino and one named Yaharia, I believe. Camino lives in the Dominican Republic, and her father does not, and so he comes down to visit her. Yahira lives with her mother and her father in New York City, and one day their father, who is the same person, is killed in a plane crash, and they find out about each other, and they have to decide what having a new sister means and kind of grapple with the lies that their father told them. I'm gonna read this because it's written by Elizabeth Acevedo, and that's it. I haven't read The Poet X yet, but I did read With the Fire and High, and I gave it 5 stars, and it's been, so far, it's still December, but so far it's been my favorite book I've read this month, and so yeah, I'm gonna read it. Also, the fact that it's about two girls who didn't know they were sisters finding out they were sisters, and also having to like know that their father was not the best person is really, really compelling. And this comes out in May. Up next is Little Creeping Things by Chelsea Icasio. It is about a girl named Cassidy who, when she was 2, apparently set a fire that killed one of her neighbors, and she has kind of had to live with that her entire life. People at her school make fun of her for it and will never let her live it down. One day, one of her bullies, Melody, goes missing, and Cassidy thinks that she may have information about that, but at the same time, she doesn't know if she should go to the cops because recently, before Melody disappeared, she made a joke that she was going to get rid of her and that she had a plan for how she was going to do it. And before Melody went missing, she got a text from an unknown number that just said, "I'm so glad we're in this together." This sounds so creepy and so exciting. I'm gonna read it in October and I'm very, very, very interested. And this comes out in June. Up next is We Are Not Free by Tracy Chi. It is the story of 14 second-generation Japanese American teenagers who are living during the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. I have mentioned several times that I have a history degree, and one thing I'm very interested in is the Japanese American internment, and I feel like it will have lots to say both about back then and what happens nowadays. And that book comes out in June. Okay. Up next is I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. This is the story of a girl named Sky who is obsessed with K-pop, and she is overweight. But one day she finds out about an international television competition to become a new K-pop star, so she decides she's going to join it. Despite the fact that there are a whole bunch of harsh beauty standards for K-pop stars, and she's not really sure about all of the fame, she decides she's going to continue with this competition, and at the same time, she has a bit of a romance with a competitor, Henry Cho. I am a passing fan of K-pop, but the world of K-pop is very, very interesting to me, and so that's kind of why I want to read this book. Along with that, just the idea of someone who does not fall under the stereotypical Korean beauty standards, going out for a position that very much revolves around those beauty standards is very, very interesting to me. And so yeah, and that book comes out in June. Up next is My Eyes Are Up Here by Laura Zimmerman. This is about a girl named Greer who, since she went into puberty and she got size 30H breasts, she has kind of been doing everything it takes for her not to be noticed. She wears baggy clothing, she slumps her shoulders, she tries to ignore everything in the hopes that people will ignore her and stop saying comments about her or treating her badly. But in the 9th grade, she ends up going onto the volleyball team and making friends and kind of like a found family. And along with that, there is a boy named Jackson who seems to like her for more of what she says than her boobs. Now, I'm interested in this because it seems like such a small thing that a lot of girls have to deal with. When you have big boobs, you're seen more as like sexual, and so a lot of people, some people lean into that, and that's completely fine with them, but others feel uncomfortable. And so I'm really interested to see how Greer kind of like ends up, and this is supposed to come out in June. Up next is Rebel Spy 355. It is based on a real story. It's about a girl named Franny who finds the body of a girl who is her age, and she uses it as a way to escape her stepfather. She is rescued by a British fleet and starts to go by a fake name of Emmeline, and then she is taken in by some British sympathizers, and finds out kind of like some secrets and ends up becoming a spy for the revolution. I just love the idea of a girl kind of becoming a spy for George Washington. That seems very interesting, and I'm gonna read it. And this also comes out in June. Then we have The Princess Will Save You by Sarah Henning. This is about a princess who is, after her father dies, she is given an ultimatum. She either has to marry the leader of one of the 4 rival kingdoms, or she will lose her crown. And to make sure that she goes to that, they kidnap her beloved stable boy who is named Luca, and she decides that she is not going to do that. She was raised to be a warrior, so she goes to rescue him herself. I'm reading this because 1, the cover is gorgeous, and 2, girl saves the boy instead of the other way around. That sounds great and fun. And this comes out in July. Then we have He Must Like You by Danielle Young Ullman. It is about a girl named Libby who is in her senior year. Her brother just made off with her college money, and her father basically kicked her out and told her she had to pay for college herself. Along with that, she just had a hookup that she is very, very confused with that. And so while she is working as a waitress, she's pushed over the edge by a handsy customer and pours sangria over him. Unfortunately, that customer is a local hero, and so now she has to deal with the fallout. This seems like it's going to be a really interesting story about kind of consent and also like local fame and how society sees their behavior. This comes out in July. And then lastly, we have This Is My America by Kim Johnson. This is about a girl named Tracy who writes letters to Innocent X, which is an organization that she hopes will help her father, who is an innocent black man on death row. It's been about 7 years, and her father is running out of time and only has 267 days left until his execution. But then one night the police arrive at her house and arrest her older brother, Jamal, saying that he killed a white girl. She's determined to save her brother then, and so she goes to investigate what happened between the 2 of them, and she has to face the skeletons of her Texas town's racial history against black people. This is going to be a hard book. I can already tell from the cover, I can tell from the synopsis, but this is going to be the type of book like The Hate U Give and Dear Martin that needs to be told, and I'm very, very excited to kind of see what is said and follow the story. And this comes out in July as well. And those are 20 non-LGBT plus books that I am looking forward to in 2020. I am really, really excited to start the new year. There's lots of good books coming out. I'm excited to start this year. There's a lot of books coming out with diversity and hard topics that need to be covered, and I can't wait to get into them. If you want to go ahead and put down a book that you're really, really excited for that maybe I haven't mentioned, I will be on the lookout. I hope that you had a great time with me today. As always, there's a link in the description to register to vote. Make sure you make your voice heard. In the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!